Marketing is about values.
Nike didn't call me and sell me this in a catalog. I bought this swoosh because it's ingrained in my soul.
When you have a product that really resonates with customers, the word of mouth grows like wildfire.
Welcome to the Marketing Max Show. Now, let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Marketing Max Show. Logan and Max, we both got new hats on today. I got a new business builder's hat. You got your master's hat. Good time of year. I'm already looking forward to the next major tournament of the year. We're going to be talking about more than golf and hats, though, today. We're going to be talking about a post on X that got a ton of engagement. So we're almost going to be doing kind of a mailbag segment that we've done here on the show before, but not necessarily from the mailbag, but from the X comments section. But before we do that, if you're new to the show, we always open it up with a 5-second bet, right? And basically, Max and I are betting you that you will finish this episode in the next 20, 30 minutes, and you will have at least one thing valuable. And our bet is, if you subscribe or follow, and by the end of this, you haven't gotten anything valuable, you can unsubscribe, you can unfollow, and you can send me a message, Logan Lyles on LinkedIn, or send a DM to Marketing Max on X and let us know that the episode sucked. So we got 5 seconds where you can make that bet or not, but we think it's going to be a good bet. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's hop into it. Max, you had something for me last week, man, and now I've got something for you, but it's actually from you. So this post that you had on X, let's see, when was this? This was April 19th, so about 10 days ago. It says, launched my lead gen service on January 6th. 100% of the clients have come from my ads in my newsletters. No social posts or cold outreach or anything. Some people didn't catch the or anything, which we'll talk about in the comments. Now at 1 million ARR in 100 days. Ask me anything. So tell me a little bit about the journey here, and then I want to unpack some of the questions, and I have some of my own questions in addition to the 50 plus comments on the post itself.
Yeah, well, it's something we've talked about a lot on the show. I decided to launch a lead generation service at the beginning of the year, helping companies do what I've been doing for my own businesses and for my own personal brand for the last couple of years. And a couple interesting things to note before we really dive in on the tweet is, number one, I included a screenshot of my Stripe that shows our ARR, and I think it was like 86 point something percent or $86,000 a month. We're well above that now. I think we're coming up to about 105-ish K MRR a month. Okay. And that 86 number of the Stripe screenshot that was in the tweet also includes some churn, because we've been on a month-to-month retainer since day one. So some clients did sign up in month one. They got, 1 or 2 calls booked. They weren't super happy, and so they churned. They didn't give us the time that we thought necessary to optimize the campaigns and really A/B test the landing pages and everything else. But yeah, super long story short, what we've been doing for the last 100 plus days is we run Facebook ads to your target demographic, asking them to sign up for your newsletter. We then drop them off on a landing page, asking for their email that we A/B test the headlines and the copy of a bunch. The moment they sign up, we then send them to a type form that qualifies them as a potential lead for whatever it is that you're selling. And then regardless of if they end up as a hot lead, a warm lead, or just a lead, we then send them a weekly newsletter that my content team writes for you in your tone of voice, obviously with your approval, every single week. And we've been generating literally thousands of leads, not just subscribers, but actually warm and qualified leads. And when I say warm lead, what I mean is someone who says that they're interested in learning more about the product or service that you offer and meets whatever the basic 2 or 3 criteria of or is that our clients give us. So if you are, let's say you're a marketing agency and you hire us to generate leads for your business, we would say, what are the qualifications that it takes for someone to be, a good lead and someone that you'd want to get on the phone with? And they would say revenue needs to be at least $5 million a year, and it needs to be their chief marketing officer. Okay, so then once someone signs up for your newsletter, when we send them to the type form, we ask questions like, what is your annual revenue and what is your job title? And if they meet those criteria, then we identify them in the little CRM that we create for you. as a warm lead. And then we then ask them the question, would you be interested in learning more or hopping on a call or whatever about how we've helped whatever the number is, 70 companies achieve XYZ result? And if they say yes, then they're considered a hot lead, and we drop them off on a Calendly page or a sign up page for some of our software clients or whatever. But that is the business that we've been running. And the tweet that I posted on whatever it was, April 10th or 9th or whatever you said, 19th.
Yeah. 19.
You know, that tweet was really, I had a lot of people that were DMing me like, what are you up to these days? What are you up to these days? I know you're kind of on quasi maternity leave. I didn't really have any quote unquote offers or businesses in my link in bio, just my newsletter. And the newsletter ad revenue has really dried up. I mean, I was on a phone call with one of my friends in the space. I won't say his name, but he has a 200,000 person email newsletter. And, you know, when we first got into the game 3 years ago, it was, you could trip over ad dollars. Companies were throwing money at newsletters to sponsor the newsletter. And now, because there's been 40 million new newsletters that have entered the market, you know, us newsletters have to find other ways to monetize. And so I kind of woke up and realized I've been doing this funnel and this marketing strategy for 3 years. I've built a lot of other businesses in the last 3 years on the back of this. I built my fractional CMO business to a $500,000 a year business. I built a ghostwriting business up to about a $500,000 a year business. I mean, I've really built a lot of businesses using this exact funnel where we run ads to get someone to sign up for a newsletter. We ask them questions to qualify them as a lead, and then we nurture them. Yeah. And I think where most companies get lost is the nurture aspect of it. I think I've been talking for way too long. I forget the exact question you said or you asked. But,
I asked a really open-ended question of like, give us context and what led up to this. So, it's fair game, man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'll keep rambling. No, I'll wrap it. I'll wrap up this ramble with this, which is essentially the tweet was really meant to articulate that the strategy that I am now doing for 40 clients that we have on retainer right now is the strategy that I use to get those 40 clients. And so I think a lot of people read the tweet. Maybe I didn't word it properly, but a lot of people read the tweet and they thought, oh, I'm now creating a business, like a monthly subscription business for ads in my newsletter. So I had a lot of people DM me saying, hey, how much is it to sponsor an ad in your newsletter?
Yeah. I saw one of those comments of like, send me, who was that? Oh, it was like, good game. Where can I get the deets of a newsletter sponsorship? Which is fine. And you're still doing that, but kind of missed the point of what you were getting at, right?
Yeah. So I think I could have done a better job explaining it, but I think a lot of people were confused because I didn't clarify that this is me creating a newsletter for your business. And so I got a lot of DMs, not just comments. If I didn't even know I got 50 comments on that thing, I probably got another 40 to 50 DMs with people asking for details about the service or with people saying, hey, I want to sponsor your newsletter. And so my whole point was, hey, the real, and it's nothing we haven't talked about in the show before, but the real rub in marketing, as the old school guys would say, the real rub, right? The real lowdown, the real secret sauce is in the nurturing. It is in the 12 touch points, building that trust that when they are ready to buy, they think of you first. And so, yes, there's 117,000 people that read my daily newsletter. Yeah, for sure. Right. Yeah. Over the last 3 years, I've spent a lot of money on Facebook ads, growing that audience. I've been able to do it profitably using a lot of strategies that I work with my fractional CMO clients on and some of our clients at the new service, which, by the way, we call it Max's Team. If you literally go to Max's, MAXS.team, that's the website, max's.team. Hopefully it's slightly better by the time this episode comes out. So check it out and give me your feedback.
I was looking at it yesterday. I mean, I think it does the trick. Yeah, it explains it.
It's like 1.0. It's like 1.0. It explains everything, the value prop, why you should work with us, but it doesn't have that marketing max juice. And I have excuses about why not. I won't go into that.
That's all right, man. It's the old Toyota thing, right? Always better, never perfect. And you have pretty high standards there, man. Anytime, it comes from their like what's the Kaizen methodology of like always continuous improvement, right? And I think that's just kind of showing that you're always looking to improve, man. Anytime I show you like, oh, hey, Max, I even used your template to build this landing page or this email. And you're like, yeah, but this could be better. You're focusing too much on outputs, not enough on outcomes. Like, you know, it will get to Marketing Max standards pretty quickly. But the thing that stood out to me here, man, and knowing your story, because you and I initially met when I was interviewing you for a different show that I was hosting a year or so back called Agency Life. And we told the story about how you went from having kind of a quote unquote typical full service digital agency that was doing lots of different things to narrowing in on Facebook and Google ads, but primarily kind of that 1-2 punch. And you saw a lot greater success, better traction, you know, faster time to close, all of those great things. Well, then, you know, you parlayed that into, I'm not sure if I'm using parlay right there, but you moved that into growing a media business because you had now expertise in Facebook ads to grow audiences. And now that you grew the newsletter business and figured out how to pivot that into also offering services, now you're doing the same for clients. And so I think some of the best, this is true in SaaS, this is true for agencies and consultants. It sounds kind of trite, but this is yet another example of instead of trying to go find something to sell or find, you know, an audience, look at what you have actually figured out, look at your internal expertise and ask, how can I leverage this? Who would see value out of it like I saw value out of it? Who is struggling with the problem that I had? So many more service-based businesses and startups actually succeed when that's the premise. As much as anyone can tell you like, oh, you can become an expert in anything overnight. You can't. You need some real world experience. I mean, do you think that's a fair kind of retelling of that story in kind of Cliff Notes fashion, man?
Yeah, I think it's spot on. Side note, sidebar to say, if you couldn't tell by my voice, I'm a little sick and I seem to be a little out of it. Logan, you get the pass too, because I think neither of us are using words exactly the way that they should be used in the dictionary today.
Even a little bit more than usual.
But
yeah,
we are human. This is not AI. Max and AI Logan, you know, talking off of a script. We're real humans, and I really do have a cold. But I really couldn't agree more with the concept of look inside instead of looking outside. A lot of my friends who have big corporate jobs see me launching a bunch of different businesses, and they say, "Oh wow, I need to come up with an idea. I need to come up with an idea." It's all about the idea, right? Shark Tank, all about the idea. And in reality, the best ideas come from people asking you for things that you already do or wanting to learn more about that. So for example, one of my good friends that I've met in the last few years is like a Z-list celebrity DJ. He's like a DJ. He gets paid, I think, like $20K a pop to show up on a to like a show, but he doesn't really do it much anymore. And I spent hours at a party that I was hanging out with him at, grilling him because I want to become a DJ. And that would be a perfect signal to be like, oh, I bet there's a lot of people that want to learn how to become a DJ he has a very specific way that he like mixes songs together. And how he creates like his chorus in the songs that he has that have gone viral on Spotify. And he's like, or he didn't say this, but I'm just thinking out loud as a perfect example, like me spending an hour grilling him about how do you make that transition and how do you make the chorus sound that specific way is a signal of, oh, hey, maybe this could be a business. Another one of my friends who's currently just got laid off and currently looking for work, he's been doing some light sales consulting for a AI like creative company. I can't go too much into the details, but he's been doing it. And he texted me yesterday, hey, do you have a friend or know of anyone that runs an influencer marketing agency that can help us in the creative world? Like think like Hollywood creative, not like marketing creative, like Hollywood creative. We want to work with influencers in the space. And I know that this guy has been working on getting a job for a long time, like 6 months now. And he said they couldn't find anyone, like an agency that could fit their budget. And I said, why don't you go back to the company that you're consulting and say, hey, pay me an extra $2K, pay me an extra $3K. I will go ahead and find the influencers, negotiate the thing. Like you have to, opportunities will find you if you are keeping your ears open for that. And to bring this full circle, I only did this Max's team business, right? Because when I used to tweet out that I was growing my newsletter hand over fist, I was growing my newsletter. We got up to like 100K a month in ad buys. Now we do a lot less than that. We still have advertisers, not completely dried up. Like I said before, I didn't mean to make it seem like there's zero. We certainly get a handful of advertisers, large handful, but we're not doing the 100K a month that we used to with the newsletter ad buys. I would tweet out, hey, we're 50K this month. Hey, we did a 75K week one time worth of ad buys in the newsletter, which to some people super tiny. They run $10 million a year newsletter businesses, but to a lot of the people that follow me on Twitter, that's a decent amount of money, and they want to start a newsletter. So they would DM me, hey, can you help me? Hey, can you teach me your ways? I would charge my standard hourly rate to get on the phone, help them do this. And after 20 calls with people who simply DM me saying, hey, can you help me with my newsletter? I realized I got the same 9 questions over and over and over and over again. So what I did is I took one of those old yellow notepads and I wrote down all the 9 questions and all my answers to them. I recorded anywhere from 1 to 4 videos answering each question, walking through step by step how I do it. And then I packaged that together in a course, walking through how I get subscribers, how I convert subscribers into customers, all of that fun stuff. How I find a writer, how do I write good headlines, how do I write good subject lines? I put all of my secret sauces into a course. I started selling it. And then the number one feedback I got from people after selling about 30 of them and taking probably like 50 calls, pretty good close rate. But the number one feedback I got from people was like, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to watch it and execute it. Can you just do it for me? Can I pay to do it?
There's that signal. There's that signal again.
There's a signal. And so I said, I don't know. And then in the span of like a week, 5 people said, I want to pay you to do this for me. 2 of them were sales calls for the course. And 3 of them were actual advertisers who said, hey, you're really good at converting your newsletter subscribers to become our leads and customers. Can you help us build our own newsletter? And I said, fuck it. Excuse my French. Probably shouldn't curse on the show. But I said, fuck it. I'm going to start this done for you service. Signed up the first couple clients. Results were insane. Literally one of the clients, 50 sales call show ups, not just booked calls, 50 qualified sales call show ups in the first 60 days, like two months, maybe 2.5 months. And just crazy. And then that's when I realized, oh, okay, like this is the next thing. And so to your point, the lesson is not stop trying to come up with ideas. Just do interesting stuff on your own and keep your ears open for where people are like, I'm really looking for a good influencer agency that specializes in Hollywood production influencers. Hey, I'm really looking for someone to create a newsletter for me. I don't have the time to do it. Hey, I'm really looking for other agency owners. I'm struggling and like I just feel alone. Join Logan's program or group or whatever it is. Like you just got to keep your ears open.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, it's not that much different from where I've consulted with executives and founders when I was doing some consulting on helping them build their brand on LinkedIn. They're like, I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to put out content. And I was like, start to listen for these signals. When someone's like, oh, that's interesting. Or they ask a follow-up question of like, oh, but how did you do that? Or they ask a clarifying question. They're showing you that they're interested in something. They're showing you that they see some value in what you've figured out, right? Don't just dismiss that, but we just get used to that, especially because we just get into the flow and kind of go on autopilot in conversations. How's it going? Good. Busy. Oh, busy, but good. That sort of stuff. But like, listen for those moments where people are kind of leaning in, or they say, I didn't know that, or how did you do that? Those are signals, and that can help you create content, but that can also help you come up with a new business idea, whether that's a SaaS product or some sort of service. And go into some of the comments. I want to jump over to some of those. There was one here that said, how did you market it? You had to tell them, hey, read the tweet again, because you did literally say all of the 100% of the clients came from ads in the newsletter. So naturally, people were asking, how'd you grow the newsletter, that sort of stuff. I like this one. It was a very simple question, but it's a, what are these leads for? And you said any industry. I'm curious with the newsletter lead funnel, from ad to newsletter to S2 to taking warm and hot leads to booked calls and cold leads and nurturing them with the newsletter. Have you seen major differences between, let's say, B2C and B2B with this lead gen funnel?
Say we have 40 clients right now. I think 38 of them are B2B.
Okay.
So, I mean, leads is just a B2B thing.
Right.
The other two are hospitality.
Okay. So service-based business.
So
rather than
service-based business,
product-based. Okay.
but the purchase is from a consumer. It's not from a business.
Right.
Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, it's across the board. We have an accounting client. We have a handful of marketing agencies. We have a handful of software businesses in all sorts of different niches. We have a marketing agency that sells SEO services to law firms doing over $10 million a year in revenue. Like it could get as niche as possible. The more niche, the more expensive the lead's going to get. Right. That's just the name of the game. Yeah. And so I was on a call with my team this morning, and we said, okay, we need to get a little bit more clear about what our cost per subscriber is, because for a lot of our clients, it's like $5-6 to get someone to sign up for the newsletter, which is pretty solid. It's not amazing, but it's pretty solid for a lot of these B2B niches. But for some of our clients, it's upwards of $20. And these clients don't mind paying $20 because their LTV is 100K, 500K. One of our clients, the LTV is like $1.2 million if they close a client. But, we got to set expectations a little bit better on our side of things. It's still an agency, and we got a lot of things to optimize and work through. But we have a medical dictation service as a client.
Yeah.
Like, doctor's records at the end of the day, you have to take notes. Like, it transcribes their voice memos, the voice memos, and then summarizes it into AI and categorizes it and makes it easy to find. And we're running ads to doctors. Like it could work for anything, because we've said this before on the show, or at least I've said this in my newsletters a bunch, because it's just good marketing. It's attracting people with some free value, softly saying, hey, tell us a little bit more about yourself and if you'd be interested. And then providing free value every single week until they're ready to buy. Or until they at least have identified that there is a problem that they want to put some money towards allocating or towards solving. And a lot of clients, they come to us after 2 months or a month, and they say, hey, we're generating a lot of leads. How do we get more? How do we get more? And one obvious answer is we can spend more to get more subscribers, and it's just a numbers game. The more people we put through the top of the funnel will eventually end up more people at the bottom of the funnel. But the other thing that I think a lot of people miss when they think about this newsletter strategy, or really starting a newsletter for any of their businesses, is the whole game is forever. There's no quarters. There's no shot clock. The idea of a weekly newsletter to help stay top of mind is a forever game. And so,
how long does this campaign last, Max?
Like we talk about a lot about like 12 touch points. You need to get to 12 touch points. But for some people, it's 12 touch points once they're in the buying journey.
Right.
Some of them are signing up for a newsletter today about, how to improve the efficiencies of your medical practice.
Right.
But they're not actually in a mental state of mind to put budget towards, want to put budget towards a dictation service for a year. And it won't be until, they have to go on vacation and they just spent 4 hours that they should have spent packing or making the plans for their vacation to Hawaii or wherever. They spent those doing dictation services. And so then, or not dictation services, but they spent those taking their notes. And then it's like, oh shit, I really need to solve this problem. It becomes a real problem. Then they might need 12 touch points. And I'm sure a lot of people listening are like rolling their eyes going like, ugh, like I want an immediate silver bullet. I want an immediate, issue or like not issue, but I want an immediate like way to solve my current lead gen issue. And that's what the front part of the funnel does, right? Because we have the type form to identify who is saying yes to a call or yes, I'm interested in learning more about this today. I have this issue today. That's only 2% of the market.
And what I love about this, because we've talked about this on the show, I've even used this the S2 lead funnel with other sort of content offers for our own agency, our webinars, different content offers, checklists, kind of your typical, lead magnets. And I think it works really, really well, even if it's not tied to a newsletter, because the underlying premise, and I read this in Growth Daily sometime back in January on one of the emails, I think it was in Growth Daily, but you were like, kind of what you just said there is like, okay, we know that 2 to 3% of your target market at any given time is in market, right? And so one of the dangers in marketing is not reaching that 2 to 3% and not capturing them. And that could happen if they sign up for your webinar, right? And they are in market and they come in and they tune in, but you save the ask until the very, very end and they're hopping off and you've missed a potentially hot lead because you didn't identify them as a hot lead because you just have a bucket of leads, right? And I used to say when I was doing a lot of sales and cold calling of like, I'm not trying to find a needle in a haystack. I'm trying to find a needle in a stack of needles. I'm trying to find the 2 to 3% that are in market, but they all freaking look the same because I'm only searching in this stack of needles of people that fit my ICP. But what this does, especially with the newsletter, as I mentioned, this like the S2 lead funnel can work with other content offers, but I think it works best with a newsletter because then that gives you the built-in way to nurture the relationship with the other 97 to 98%. Because the other danger in marketing is either you're spending all your time on performance-based marketing to try and capture the 2 to 3%. And so you're doing no brand building, no affinity creation with the 97 to 98%, or even worse, you're burning every bridge with everybody who's out of market by just hitting them with your cold emails and your ads that are answering questions that they aren't asking yet, all of those sorts of things. And so what this funnel does, it's a lead gen funnel, but it's also a demand gen funnel. Like you're creating future demand for your products and services with the newsletter while you're making sure to capture as many leads with your lead gen motion of the 2 to 3%. And so
I never thought about it like that. I need to test some copy on our landing pages that I run inside of my own newsletter.
Okay.
Saying, we capture the existing demand and create and generate new demand for you via, this funnel.
I'm curious. Go ahead. I
was just going to say, like, one thing I really want to clarify, because you kind of touched on it before, and I really just want to hammer this home, is we got these 40-ish clients 100% by running ads inside of my own newsletter. So 117,000 people read my newsletter every single day. I just run an ad every, let's call it like twice a week, every 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
As a primary ad in one of my newsletters saying, hey, if you want leads, Marketing Max has a new service called Max's Team. Here's a bunch of proof. Here's a bunch of case studies. Here's a bunch of testimonials, which I need to get more of. We all do. That's like the biggest thing we all can do to improve our marketing is get more client testimonials and case studies and then share those with more people in our pipeline. But yeah, I just wanted to extra clarify that this came 100% from my own audience.
Right.
100%.
Which kind of proves the point I was just making, right? Because you spent the time to create demand for your service and create affinity and build an audience that then you could easily market to. When you launched the newsletter service, you didn't have to go spin up a bunch of organic social posts. You didn't have to go spend a bunch of money on ads, right? Now you spent ad dollars to grow the newsletter, but in effect, those were probably less expensive than had you just launched Max's Team and started running ads for it. And now those are costing you 5, 6, 7x what the subscribers cost you to begin with, right? And you're monetizing that audience along the way. So it's just, you got to play the long game. I mean, I think is one of the lessons from this episode. A few tactical questions I wanted to ask you, since 90+% of your clients that are running this play are B2B, have you thought about LinkedIn ads versus Meta ads, and what's been your experience or what's your thinking about those two if someone's thinking about doing this for themselves?
It's a really good question. We started out offering both LinkedIn and Meta ads.
Okay.
And we could not get the LinkedIn ads cost per subscriber low enough to make it work.
Yeah.
LinkedIn
What was
ads
your target, or it varied by client?
Expensive. I mean, we average now on Meta, like I said, $5 to $20. We have a couple
Okay.
clients that are like $2 to $3, but
Okay.
most of the time it's somewhere between the 5 to 20 range. I mean, literally after we stop recording, I have to go respond to an email from a client who asked us. They were on LinkedIn with us. We went to Facebook. They were crushing it, but they were having an issue with their Meta ads account.
Okay.
There's like it got flagged for a dumb reason. And so like, hey, can we go back to LinkedIn? And someone on my team pulled the numbers and said, no, the answer is no. We can't go back to LinkedIn because our cost per subscriber before was $110. Where currently it's $7 on Meta.
110 per subscriber.
Per subscriber on
Not
LinkedIn.
per lead.
Now,
Not per hot
not per
lead. Not
lead,
per
per
book call.
subscriber.
Yeah.
Per subscriber. And on average, we have this really cool dashboard. I spent way too much money to create it with some people, like some special like dashboard agency that I found. But we like gather data from a bunch of different points. But anyways, we track all of the master data across all of our clients. So we can see week over week, did CPL and did cost per lead increase? Did cost per subscriber increase or decrease? Did the CPM across Facebook increase or decrease? And then did the conversion rate from subscriber to qualified hot lead increase or decrease?
Mhm.
And it's kind of wild. When I run this strategy for myself, only roughly like 2 to 5% of all of the new subscribers end up being a hot lead right away. For our clients, on average, it's like 9.8%
Yep.
on average.
My
Almost
small
10 to
tests with this model have been in the 9 to 10% range. So I would say I fall into a similar bucket.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild when we went like I need to write this email after we record or
Yeah.
stop recording, but when I go back to them, I'm going to say, hey, look, like not only did our cost per subscriber, just someone giving us their email, go from 110 on LinkedIn down to 7. What did I say? 7.5.
Yeah, 7,
I
something
think
like that.
it's like 723 or something with them. Not only did that happen, but our cost or our conversion rate from subscriber actually went up. For our conversion rate from subscriber to qualified hot lead went up. And why is that? That's simply because more people are entering the top of the funnel. You would think targeting is better on LinkedIn, and therefore we'd have more qualified leads, but we get literally 10x the amount of volume. And so with the Typeform, we can push people the appropriate direction to a call, to a free trial. Thanks for signing up, whatever. Right? Here's a lead magnet that we said in the ad that you're going to get, whatever. It's really, 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 really a meta ads play because LinkedIn is too expensive. And what we do is we scrape LinkedIn full of, or for all of our clients' target customers, we load that into Facebook, and then we create a lookalike audience and run ads directly to those people. So it kind of is like targeting to, like, let's say the 60th percent accuracy of what you could do with LinkedIn, but the volume is just so much larger on Meta, and that's why I was able to build this $1 million a year agency in 100 days on the back of my newsletter. It's because Meta ads is still by far and away the greatest arbitrage in the marketing game.
Man,
at scale.
At scale, right? Yeah, because I think I've asked you before.
Not at scale, it's newsletter ads. Buy more ads and newsletters, not just mine and other people. Believe me, you can negotiate a really good deal right now and get in front of 100% of your target audience.
Dude, that's a good reminder for me because, for our own agency at Business Builders, we run some ads in CEO Report and Growth Daily with your team, and it's led to some pretty good results. And so I was going to ask you, like, hey, who are some other newsletter creators that I should be talking to? Because the play is working, and I think there's obviously part of that's you and your audience and our collaboration across the podcast and newsletter and stuff like that. But I just want to encourage people, like, there is, especially if you're in the buying seat, you might have a little bit of leverage. So there might be some arbitrage for you there to take advantage of. So, man, this has been good. I feel like we hit something.
You touched on something earlier where you said, you've been using the S2. The S2 is just the Typeform. That's my like branded name for someone signs up for a newsletter or signs up for something, and then you immediately start asking them questions to qualify them. And you said, you've been doing this elsewhere. It doesn't have to be just meta ads.
Yeah.
Like Logan drives traffic from our newsletters to his landing page, then Typeform. And we have a handful of other clients who take our landing page and our Typeform, as I call it, the combo, the S2, right? They take the S2 and they drive traffic from their link in bio on their Instagram. Like one of our clients has like 50,000 Instagram followers, and like that's that. So it's not just meta ads that's driving the traffic, but the concept of giving people free value up front, qualifying them as if they're in the market to buy today, and if not, nurturing them over forever is one of the best marketing strategies in the game, as evident by all of our case studies and the fact that I've been able to grow multiple successful, small, admittedly, but successful businesses.
Profitable. Yeah. I mean, and it's the segmentation there, right? And you kind of blew by it earlier, not blew by it, but I just want to double down on that for folks, kind of like you did there with the S2, is that part of this lead gen funnel is making sure that you're not just collecting leads, right? And then you fall into the same trap. Like you're just digging through trying to find a needle in a stack of needles. You're very strategically, in the way that I learned from your newsletter course taught me a lot about how to implement this so that you can bucket hot leads, warm leads, and cold leads, and then respond appropriately. Because if marketing all comes down to the right message, the right person at the right time, we got to figure out some of those variables so that we can execute on that. And I think this lead gen approach, lead gen plus demand gen approach, as we said earlier, actually helps you do that. Well, man, this has been fantastic. I don't know if anybody is going to, lose the bet today and, ream us on LinkedIn or X, but if you are unsubscribing or unfollowing, you didn't get any value, hit me up on LinkedIn. You can find me, Logan Lyles, or go at Marketing Max on X. You can find him. Max, this has been fantastic, man. Until next week.
See you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Max show. It takes me and my team hours to produce it every single week, but it only takes you 15 seconds to hit that share button and text it to a friend, drop it in a Slack group, or share it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or any of your favorite social platforms. I appreciate you taking the time to check out my content. Have an awesome day.